I'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity for Passion. And it's an interesting podcast series. Today's topic is how do we be passionate about things we're not passionate about? You might be thinking, well, why would I even want to be passionate about things we're not passionate about, right? Like, well, um, I remember, you know, my wife and I have 39 years. We've been married 39 years, 7 kids, 8 grandkids, another one on the way. And I remember having date nights like with my wife, like we've had them for decades. Every Friday night, everybody knows mom and dad's date night. This is just what it is. But then I started dating my kids, and when I dated my girls, we would do something that they would want. And so they would love to watch, Barbie, um, you know, and different types of little girl stuff. This was not something their father wanted to do, but you know, I wanted to develop a connection with them, um, and win their hearts and understand their hearts and all kinds of stuff. So what I learned to do is be passionate about things they're passionate about, and then study why they're passionate about what they're passionate about. And so even as they become adults, they like to watch Barbie movies or other types of those type of girl movies. When they started to, and I did this at a very young age, like when they were just little girls, like 2, 3, 4 or 5 years old. I mean, I started doing that. Um, Man, a lot of memories. Holy cow. Anyways, and so I've got this really cute, I'll share this really cute story. So Ginger Ann, our oldest daughter, uh, when she was 5 years old, so we work with the kids on goals. Like, what are your goals? And so one of Ginger Ann's goals was to have a date night with dad. And we had a number of date nights and stuff like that. And so, so she had a goal. She had a goal of a date night. And so we planned it out. And I don't know, it was like 3 weeks in advance or something. We're going to have a date night, and this is going to be the date and everything. And so as we're getting closer, there's this 5-year-old little girl, and she's so excited. I get to have a date night with my dad. We're going to go out. It's going to be so cool. And so that was one of her goals. And, and so, it's 3 weeks and 2 weeks and 1 week. And then it's, 5 days and 4 days and 3 days. It's tomorrow. And then the big day comes, and she's like, she's so excited. And, and so we have it all planned out. And my wife calls me, at lunch at the office, and she says, "Hey, I just want to remind you, don't forget the date night tonight." So my wife, she's a good wingman. She knows that, Mark gets caught up in stuff, and, owning a business, and, working in the marketplace. It's not easy. It's hard. And have you ever had one of those, you know, uh, mornings that was bad, and the afternoon was even worse? That's what that day was. And so when I'm heading home, I'm like, Mark, you can't go out on a date night. And then I came up with all the mental reasoning as to why and what. Like, why, like Ginger Ann, she's only 5. It's not that big a deal. Like, just push the goal off to the next day or next week. It's not that big of a deal. So I had it in my mind. I've had a hard day. I'm entitled. Like, I can't really, and then I justify it, rationalize it, like it's for Ginger Ann's best interest. So I get this whole thing, in my mind. I train my mind, I'm like, okay, I got it. And so I don't know what I am, probably, 28, 29 years old. And so I have this all rationalized in my brain, and I open the door, and greeting me at the door was my 5-year-old daughter, Ginger Ann, in her long white coat, and then my wife next to her. This does not take a college degree, although I think a lot of fathers these days, they don't get it. I don't know. I'm just saying the young men today who are fathers, I'm just saying, I don't know. Like, really? So I just took a look at Ginger Ann in her long white coat and my wife, and I looked at my daughter and I looked at my wife and I said, Mark, it is not in your best interest to reschedule this goal. Like, suck it up, Buttercup. Like, you know what? You had a tough day, but she's been looking forward to this. And even though she's only 5, you're going to step up and be a man. So I'm like, wow, I'm really looking forward. Have you? And I just hug her and she giggles and she's so excited. And we're driving to the restaurant where we're going to, Marie Callender's, and she's just chatting away like a 5-year-old girl, like 5-year-old girls do. They just chat. They just talk, and which is fine because I'm more of the silent type where I just listen and she's talking and talking. I'm like, this is kind of cool. Then we go to the restaurant, we sit down, and the waitress comes and takes our food and she's chatting. And we order, and then the waitress, she's talking. And I'm, seeking to be interested, engaged in what she's talking about. And then she goes ahead and the waitress brings our food and she stops and she's like, Dad, like, yeah. She's like, how come we didn't pay for the food before we got it? I'm like, well, honey, in nice restaurants, you don't have to pay until after you get the food. It kind of gives you an idea of where I'd taken her in previous dates. It is weird, like a 5-year-old girl can observe, like it's like you never think of that. Like, you go to fast food, you pay, you get the food. But she had the observation that she knew it, and I giggle, I laugh. She's like, what's he, and when we were driving home that night, I thought, I don't know, honestly, she's 5. I don't know if she will remember this, but I will. So I thought I was giving a gift to her, but I really was giving a gift to myself. And this is the importance of goals. This is the importance of discipline. This is the importance of not rationalizing. Like, my heart goes out to young men today that are fathers. And I'm like, I don't know if they, people are getting married later in life. And I don't know if that's good, especially for men, because like, Dr. James McDonald, he's pastor and his son was, I don't know, in his 30s or something. And he publicly said in front of 15,000 people, he's like, I'm telling my son, Landon, get married, buddy. Like, you have way too high expectations of a woman. You're not that good. You can't expect her to be that good. Like, he, in front of 15,000 people. I mean, he just smoked him, lit us up his son. He said, I told Landon, I said, Landon, every day you're single, you become more self-centered and more self-absorbed. You need to get married so it's not just about you. And I thought, that's interesting. And I wonder if that's the same thing about kids, like about children. It's like it's like it helps you become a man to put your wife above your own desires and wants and needs. It helps you as a dad. So I learned a lot from my parents without question, but I've learned far, far more from my children. And so what I've learned to do is, I don't know if Tim remembers when, he and Jonathan and Ben and I went out to the bodybuilding. So
I do remember that. I remember taking a piss on the side of the highway too.
this is I did not remember that. This is definitely an adult conversation. Like, my grandkids are not listening to this. Hopefully, if it is, Uncle Tim, he's an adult. He can use language, but not you kids can't do that. Until you get out on your own and you're supporting yourself. So, Tim, the topic of how do we be passionate about things we're not passionate about, and then why do we want to do that? Thoughts on that?
So Of late, I have been, for the first time in my life, I've been single for almost, 6 months since the age of 16. And so I've been in and out of relationships since I was 16, went from a 4 year relationship 3 months later into a 2 year relationship. So this is the longest I've been single since I was 16. And for the first couple of months, it felt different because I didn't have anybody to have to really worry about. And so I didn't have anybody to worry about, but that means I had nobody to push me. I had all these goals, all these things I was so excited about for life, that I was going to create this life with this person, and it was, ripped away. And it took me a couple months to just, I got to a really, really low point, like a point of almost giving up. And I don't know, just something clicked inside of me where it's just like, maybe it's being around my niece. She is the brightest soul. I love her so much. I come home and runs into my arms. Uncle Tim, Uncle Tim, Uncle Tim, Uncle Tim's home. I'm the only day I get to sleep in Saturday. Her birthday's this Tuesday. Only day I get to sleep in is Saturday. And I tell them, hey, I'm going to take you out to breakfast. I am tired. I might have drank a whole entire bottle of wine the night before. Who knows? But at 8 o'clock in the morning, 8:30 in the morning, I have a child jumping on my bed. Wake up, Uncle Tim. Wake up, Uncle Tim. And it just warms my heart. And I'm like, I get up. And I think part of what has helped me is, yeah, she's not my kid, but something, when she gets older, something's going to click inside her head, and she's going to see all these things that I was when I was a kid. I mean, when she was a kid. And I don't want to be the disappointment stoner uncle. I want to be the fun, exciting, exhilarating uncle that loves working with plants and agriculture and doing these amazing things. And so something clicked inside me, and every day I wake up, man, I don't want to do it. I don't want to go to work. I get my butt up, get my clothes on, still half asleep. I get my morning coffee. I get my butt in the car and I drive to work. And for, not a huge thing, most adults will look and say, "Oh, congratulations." But it's been officially 2 months since I've called off work. And for someone who's a normal adult, that's not a big deal. But for someone who brother took his life in front of him, consistently in and out of relationships that just brought you down, that's a really big thing for me. And I've gone through work in these last 2 months. I've gone to work sick. Well, I've never been sick a day in my life, but I've gone to work sick. I've driven in blizzards, straight blizzards, and things that I never thought I could do. And winter is the hardest month for me, mentally, physically, just overall. And something inside me is driving me. And the difference is, I have to find the passion behind it, because yeah, there's motivation, but motivation is temporary. Now it's routine and the passion of why I'm doing this. And so, before the recorded session, my dad asked me, like, who's going to drive you to go to work? Who's going to drive you to, make money? Who's going to drive you to pay bills when you're on your own? And my answer is myself, because that's what an adult does. But a lot of my life lately has been the placebo effect of, in the past, I'd convince myself I'm sick so I wouldn't go to work. And now when I'm sick, I convince myself I'm not sick to go to work. And so now it's convincing myself I've never been sick a day. And my favorite words my coworkers call me is, within, 2 to 3 months, I have gone from the worst worker there to being told last Friday that I clean the rooms the best, that I'm the hardest worker there, that everybody is recognizing me there. And that feels good, but that's just the start. And so, just the drive, the continued drive to want to do it for me, for me. And, you were saying about that pastor telling his son to get married because every day he gets more selfish. And man, do I love being selfish. I love it. I love being selfish
See,
because
and this is
people
what's
are,
interesting, because if you haven't watched the whole series in addictions, Tim and I have done like a bunch of things on addictions, and so I'd encourage you to, click over to that and check that out for sure. There's a gentleman that that is in and around my life who's married, has a couple kids, has some kids, and he's an alcoholic, and he knows he's an alcoholic, and his wife, I think maybe has kicked him out. He says he's going to go clean, he's going to clean up, but then she catches him, doing stuff. And so, anyways, we have these addictions. And so Tim, is addicted to being selfish. I think, would you agree, Tim, that you're addicted to being lazy?
oh, 100%. 100%.
And
I
so,
think that there's a different laziness for such a long time has brought me comfortability, coddling, and comfort almost of just people adhering to what I need. And so they do it for me because that's the way I was raised as a kid, with having 4 sisters and a mom that just loved to baby me. And then I get into 2 relationships where they just love to baby me. And so I've gotten comfortable just being lazy. And so
so
that's where
what do
I,
you what do you think I think about you being accountable to yourself?
I think you think it's a stupid idea.
And and so so are you so you have a path that you want to go, you're thinking going down. I have a path, I think, I think you ought to take a different path. Which path do you think that you'll take?
Um, probably my path. I
Right.
haven't heard your path though, so I would love to hear your path. You know,
So my
where do
path
you
would
think?
be, you get a lot of you may not like your older sister, you know, um, you have in the back of your mind, you hear her voice, get up, get your butt up and go to work. Like, you hear her voice, and then saving money. Like, you need to save money. Like, you you have, like, there's this war inside of you. So there's this story, being raised Baptist, you know, that there's a story of this Indian that has 2 dogs, and the dogs are in a fight. And so he's got this white dog and black dog. And he's like, so which dog wins? And he says, whichever one I feed the most. And so it's like, do I have accountability? I do. Like, my wife and others, like, I was talking to Shuaib from Pakistan earlier today, and I said, do you think I'm strange? He laughs and he's like, you're very unique. You're very different. I'm like, how am I different? He says, like, you're always up at a certain time every day. You go to bed at a certain time. When you're on vacation, you still show up at 6 o'clock meetings. Like most people, when they're on vacation, they're resting and relaxing. I said, do you know why I do that? And he's like, I don't. And I think it connects back into my life vision. So our passions, if you haven't done the passion circle, do your passion circle so you know all your passions. And the center of your passion is your life vision. So my life vision, I'm accountable to that. I am created, each of you are created in a very special way. You're created to do something amazing, whatever your belief is. Like, whether you're a Christian or Muslim or Mormon or Hindu or Buddhist, whatever your belief system is, or if you're an atheist. Like, if your worldview is that you were, you evolved from some little tiny thing of nothing, it's fine. You can believe that if you want, but then, are you really that special? Like, if you were created by a higher being, whatever that higher being is, if you were created special, like somebody put you together in such a unique and beautiful way, Like that's special. Like when you're special, you treat, like Tim said, what was it, a podcast or two ago, where you don't respect yourself. Well, if your worldview is you evolve from nothing into now you're something or nothing or whatever, you're just like everything else. Well, then you don't think of yourself as being special, so you don't treat yourself special. And so I think you ought to have accountability, Tim. I think you need to have other people, um, you know, keeping an eye and assisting you. Um, because my pattern in you,
Well,
myself,
what's the difference between accountability and coddling?
well, coddling is if you get behind financially, if you get behind financially and somebody loans you money or gives you money, or you seduce them into money because you had whatever. I think coddling is where, it's okay, Tim. Your brother died, he committed suicide. Tim, you're not feeling good today. You've had 2 months of doing good. You've done good. So coddling is like, it's rationalizing. It's like, oh, you've had it tough. And accountability, it's not like I think you perform better, like everybody does. Like Ginger Ann, our oldest daughter, who is 5, she, when she and I went on a date, she and I and my son-in-law and my other daughter, and then 2 other people, my wife went and were looking at buying an accounting business. And on the way back, I said, "Hey, Ginger Ann, what do you think?" And she said, and so she's in her mid-30s, and she said, "I love to see you work, Dad. I love to see you work your magic, and how you just you just, you just connect all of the dots and how you move in the way you move." So she's in her mid-30s, and I'm still trying to impress her. I don't know if I'm trying to impress her, but I'm not trying to impress her. I love when I impress her. I love when I impress my wife, and I love when I impress Tim and my kids and my grandkids. I love when my grandkids say, "Grandpa, I can't believe you did that." Like, um, and and so I think that people being aware of you being transparent, because I think you, like every human being, I think you have the ability to rationalize and justify things, and you don't see it. It's like this slippery slope, and all of a sudden you're off. Like you can rationalize not going to work. You can rationalize, well, spending money. You can rationalize not keeping on a budget. You can rationalize, not having reserves. You can rationalize all of those type of things.
So I think I was wrong on my answer then because I have the accountability. I could always use more, but it's I would have to say it's my family at work. Those guys, man,
Well, they
they're
hold you
the
accountable in certain areas. Who is the person in the world of all the 8 billion people in the world? So, of all the 8 billion people in the world, who is the one person that you would hate to go ahead and have to, you would hate more than anything else to go ahead and be transparent about your finances, your work, your relationships, your everything? Who would be the one person that you would just say, I would never want that person to go ahead and see what I'm doing? Who's the one person that comes to mind?
you.
Right. So why?
Because I think that in a certain way you've coddled me.
Interesting.
I
So
think that
if that's the case, why would you not want me if that's the case to do that?
man, I hate being coddled.
Yeah. Hmm.
I
So
hate what coddling does
you
to
think
me.
when and you tell me you spent money that you shouldn't, you think when you go ahead and, yeah, you're not dating in a relationship, but when there's drinking or weed, or you think when you think when I'm exposed to something that if you are transparent and tell me the truth, you think I'm going to say, oh, Tim, it's okay. You're not in a relationship, so it's okay to do that. Oh, Tim, you think I'm going to coddle you. That's why you wouldn't want me. I get it. What if I promise not to coddle you? Then would you go ahead and have me?
Well, the question is, you've got so many other people to look after. Is I think I would really like to create my own support system,
Right.
and my job is, it's not just about going to work. It's about financials. A lot of these guys have been in the situation I have, is because for you, it feels, when you were my age, it was a different living situation. They didn't even have credit score to get an apartment back when you were my age.
Does everyone see who's watching this? Does everyone see what's happening? Because I do. See, this is why most everyone on the planet, they would not want me for accountability because I can see through stuff so fast. Like it's just there's smoke screens and there's all these things and I can see through it so fast. I can slice through stuff and say, here's the truth. And people don't want that. Like like Tim, he knows he can game the people at work. He knows he can. He knows that the reason why he's not going to have his older sister Katrina do it, is because he can't game her. She knows his game. She knows his game so well that she can see it. But to people at work, he's gaming them now, and so he's moving the pieces on a chessboard just like a masterful chessboard, like a master chess player. So he's not going to want Katrina, and he's not going to want me because he can't game me. He can't game. It's harder to. Who do you think it's
Well,
harder to game? Do you think it's harder to game Katrina or me?
I would say it's harder to game Katrina.
Do you?
I do. She
Interesting.
don't she don't put up with the she don't put up with the BS. Your I think sometimes I like it when people are a little tough and rough, which I'm enjoying right now. It's a lovely conversation. Is like when I went to you and was like being sick, and you were like, I think you should go to work, but I don't know. You're an adult. Katrina's like, get your ass to work, buddy.
Right.
What the F are you doing? Type of
Right.
situation. And so I think that's my thing, is I it's not that I don't want Katrina for accountability, because I do. I don't think Katrina wants to hold me accountable.
Well, I can see that totally.
I think that a lot of people in my life, is they've held me accountable in rough given situations, and they don't want to deal with it anymore. And so I've almost essentially burned a lot of my bridges. And that's my thing, is I would like, I know it's stupid or rambunctious to just, and I've had issues in the past, and there's been falls, and I'm up, down, Jackal and Hyde. But one day I'm gonna have to get it, or I'm gonna have to fail on my own. And if that's sleeping in my car or showering at a Planet Fitness, then that is what it is.
Yeah, and you are a drama king, and so you do you do enjoy those. So Ford versus Ferrari, I love when he got up and said, "My daddy," he said, "a man that loves what he does is the luckiest man alive because he'll never work a day in his life." There are some people, and damn, I don't even know if they're lucky or not, where they have to do something. Like they have to do it. It's at the very core and essence of who they are. And if they don't do what they have, if they don't do it, they'll die. See, I think for me, I think every human being is created in God's image. And I believe that every human being is special. I believe every human being has a life vision that's totally different than every other life vision on the planet. And I believe that if somebody doesn't discover that, well, you know, I don't know. I don't know. They might think they have a really good life, but they're not happy. Um, and so yeah, I don't know. I don't think Katrina wants to. I know I don't want to. I know I don't want to for sure. For sure I don't want to. But, that's funny. I always like when men like men I'm not saying in their 30s or 40s think they're like, I know what it's like to be a man. This is what's being like to be a man. Do you really? Do you understand what it's like to be a man? Do you? Do you understand? See, a lot of times the people who think they're men, I mean, they're jealous of other men that, you know what? These men are real men. Like they're not talkers. Like they're real men. They'll step up and they'll go ahead and step in. And when they don't want to do something, they do it. And weak men, flimsy, floppy, they talk a big game and they talk behind people's backs. That's what I love. Like weak, like men who do that. They're like they'll undermine the real men. I get it. I understand. I feel bad for those men. I look at those men and say, in many ways, I can see where those men, they're sad little men. I get it. They wanna pretend that they're real men. They're selfish, self-centered, self-absorbed, but they wanna take the credit when something goes good. Like, oh my gracious, like Tim succeeded and I helped him. Well, when Tim fails, are you going to take responsibility? Because real men take ownership. That's what real men do. I'm just saying, that's what real men do. But flimsy fake men, superficial, artificial men, they go ahead and try to help a little bit here and a little help there, and then they look at me, I helped him be the man he is. Okay, well, if he crashes and burns, are you going to go and say that you're the man who screwed it up? Now, see, you might all think, my gracious, Mark's got passion. Are you kidding? Oh, he's got passion. He's a real man. Or I can just be like other men.
For people who's listening to the podcast, you might think that my dad Mark is mad right now. He's not. He's not mad. It's when he gets quiet is when he's mad. Right now, he's just this is what I love about this podcast is that two maybe 1.5 men. We could call this 1.5 men. I don't know. I'm not a full man yet. I'm trying to get there, but I'm not a full man yet. But I love something about being a man or being a person is we can get with each other as people often see us get aggressive and they think that we're mad. They think that we're pissed off, that when we feel these emotions, men show emotions a lot of times through loud speeches or screaming. And they think, oh, you're mad. You must be mad. We're scared. And this is why a lot of men don't show emotions. And this is why a lot of men don't think that their emotions matter, is because, Dad, as we both know, and as I know, our emotions matter. Okay. And so a lot of people, mom's probably in the other room like, man, he's up there. He's mad. I'm going to talk to him about this later. He's not mad. He's feeling. Continue.
Right. I'm concerned for Tim. I'm concerned for the people around Tim. I'm concerned for the egomaniacs that go ahead and think that they're men, but they're, I don't know. I'm not saying they're not. I mean, can they brush their teeth and can they do some of these things? And it's like, can you brush your teeth? Can you pay for yourself? Can you go ahead and have a nice home? Can you do this? And it's like, oh yeah, I can do that. So I'm a real man. It's like, okay, well, I don't know. I mean, maybe you are. I mean, I'm not saying you're not. Maybe you're being the best man you could possibly be. And it's okay. I mean, it's okay. I mean, granted, I was doing that when I was 20. And so like, I'm just saying. So, it's like, so I think being a real man is understanding how we were created, what we were created to be, and then being that like your whole life, like having something that you're pursuing that you're not getting comfortable with because, and so there is without question with Jonathan dying, there is without question where in Ford versus Ferrari, where he says, yeah, some people don't make it out of the car. What's funny to me or interesting is Jonathan died when he was 30. And what's sad to me is I wonder if his legacy will be bigger and more significant than maybe somebody who's 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 or 80 or 90. I don't know. I know it is with me. And so
I had one time I had asked, I went to therapy. I was in therapy for a little bit after John had passed away. And, my therapist had asked me about a specific, significant other I was with for a while. They said, do you love her or are you just comfortable? And I think that goes for all areas of life. There's a lot of people who are like, I love my job. Do you love your job or are you just comfortable? Because is your job consistently pushing you? Is your job pushing you to be a better person, to create new learning experiences, consistently learn? And I think a lot of people just love their job because it's a consistent routine that they can do and they know what's going to go down. There's no surprises or curveballs. And so when I say I love my job, man, it's a newfound love because for a while, I used to say I love these people. The love came from within. These people taught me, showed me how to love, but the love came from within. So when I say I love my job for kicking my butt. These guys, these people, this job, every day I'm breaking down in sweat. Heck, I'm breaking down in tears in my car because it's rough, but I love that feeling. And so I'm trying to not be comfortable.
it's
I'm trying.
interesting because Shuaib said this morning, I said, if you really love what you do, you don't really need a vacation because every day is a vacation. Like, I don't really feel that I'm working at all. Like, every day is a vacation. Sure, there's things I don't want to do, but I found that when I do things that I don't want to do, like Tim said, like it stretches me, it makes me to grow it when I'm, uncomfortable. Like it's so this series along with the other series for sure. Maybe that's the rule that if you're on, if you do a podcast, you got to go ahead and beat your chest. But that's not necessarily passion, is it? Right? I mean, verbally, you're like, holy cow. But is it? Or can you be passionate with a soft voice? Like, but like, if you're going to do a podcast for, voices of integrity for passion, well, then, have some passion, whatever that looks like for you. Like, whatever that looks like for you, get something you're passionate about and then start sharing that passion with other people. Tim, any other closing comments or thoughts that you got, sir?
So go along with that as well as when someone shows you passion and that passion comes forward and beating your chest and yelling and screaming, you can choose to be scared and walk away, or you can choose to walk along with them and grow and do great things. I've lost a lot of great people in my life because they were scared of my passion. And I hope and I wish them the best. But that passion, that burning feeling inside of me that I've been waiting to get out for all these years, that's what keeps me alive.
Nice. So if you're, as you're watching this, for sure, you want to go ahead and join the Life GPS mobile app. There's no cost to do it. It takes just a couple minutes. Join that for sure. Once you join it, you'll be assigned a mentor. and this group. And so this group isn't just about, it's not like other podcasts where you listen and you laugh or you cry or you say, oh, that's really profound. Like this is a podcast for engagement. Like it's like engaging. If you're not engaging, you're like sitting on the stands and you're watching the football game. It's okay. You can watch other people if you want, but is that really what you want to do? Do you really want to be a spectator in your own life? I don't think you do. If you have any questions, connect with the individual who invited you to participate in today's session, or you can call toll free 888-230-2300 outside the US 630-393-9909. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.